Alright, this is SSLFamilyDad with Simple Suburban Living, and today I'm just going to run through kind of a FAQ, just kind of try to answer some of the most frequently asked questions that I get on the chicken coop, and hopefully the chickens will stay quiet enough now so that I can actually talk. I've tried this video a couple times now, and I gave them something to munch on, so they've got some grass. So one of the most common questions I get is about the watering system, and I'll actually kind of look underneath here. So in the back there I've got the watering system, and I've got the chicken drippers in there and a piece of PVC. And a lot of people ask, you know, what do you do about the dripping, and is that an issue? And you can kind of see that they peck away at the dirt underneath it, and it does drip, you know, when they use it. I have another one in the chicken tractor area too that they use, and they peck the drips off the ground, and little puddles form, and they'll drink the water off the ground. So it hasn't really been a big issue. The other thing that a question I get is about freezing, and how am I preventing this from freezing? And the way that I did it this year was I just wrapped it in insulation and used a heat tape on the outside portion here. And I didn't do anything on the inside portion, but I did have a heat lamp in here. And as you can see, the pipe is completely broken in the back there. So we had a few weeks of unusually cold weather. It was under 0 degrees for a sustained period of time this year. The chicken water, it would keep it from freezing solid, but it wouldn't keep it from it wouldn't keep it thawed enough for them to use the little chicken drippers. So there was just no water coming out of them. And then the top part of it would freeze up there where I would try to fill it, and I wasn't able to fill the watering system. So I just ended up unplugging it, and about a day after I unplugged it, it froze solid, obviously, and it cracked the PVC up. So that's something I have to kind of redesign. I'm going to be basically insulating the inside portion of it and redoing this. And I'm going to put a shut-off valve here so I can shut off the outside portion of it in the wintertime. I learned a lot this winter. They tend to just stay in the chicken coop the majority of the time anyway in the winter. They don't like to walk on the snow, so I'll just insulate the inside portion of the watering system, and that's what I would recommend doing. Just don't have anything outside as far as water goes in the winter time. So while we're in here, another thing that people asked and commented on a lot was the cleaning tray. I did a video on how well the cleaning system works. I really like it. I think it's really easy. A lot of people have said, you know, what's the point of using a tray? You might as well just have it like sweep out into wheelbarrow, whatever. And that's fine. You can do that no matter what. You can take we can open this little door up here, and you can just take this tray right out and have them just, you know, put your bedding right on the bottom floor, pull your wheelbarrow, you know, right up outside the coop here, and then just sweep everything right out through that slot right into your wheelbarrow. If you don't want to use the tray, that's fine. You don't have to. I like the tray because it keeps everything kind of contained, and it provides a little bit extra protection inside the coop, so that the floor is not getting the droppings and all that stuff right on it. And, you know, to me, it just makes it a lot easier to clean, just to slide it out and take it back to our compost pile. But that was a question a lot of people had. One of the things people asked is what would I have done differently. As you can see, the nesting boxes are right at the same level as the main floor of the chicken coop, and that's one thing I definitely would have done differently. And the problem that I end up having is, you know, kind of see here, they kick, you know, their messes and the wood shavings in and out of these nesting boxes from the main part of the coop, and I kind of thought this was going to be an issue. It was kind of a design flaw from the beginning, and so I would have raised the whole nest boxes up maybe just like 3 or 4 inches higher than the main coop. Quiet. But you can see we've got some eggs to collect in here. But that's one of the things I definitely would have done differently. And honestly, for 6 chickens, you don't really even need this large of a nesting area, but they all seem to just use one of the nesting boxes, maybe 2 of them anyway, so not a big deal. But that's one of the things I definitely would have done a little differently. As far as ventilation goes, I have this little kind of makeshift window that I never really finished. I just cut kind of a not even straight hole here and put a hinge that I had found. And this seems to be fine for ventilation. They're never inside the coop in the summertime, and in the wintertime I keep the door open, and there's enough kind of cracks and gaps around the top here to provide them enough ventilation in the wintertime when they're in there anyway. So that really hasn't been an issue either. Another thing that I would have done a little differently is this tray hole that I have here, when I pull that tray out, if I have a lot of bedding material in there, it kind of gets stuck when I try to pull the tray out. So I probably would have made this opening a little bit taller, and then made the door, move the door up a little bit, just so that this has a larger area for me to pull that tray out along the bottom. So that's another thing I would have changed a little bit, as well as these latches. The barrel bolts, well, they work good and they're cheap, and I don't have a problem with the barrel bolt on this little door. But if we go over to this door being a larger door, and I guess I was kind of cheap, I have a new latch for this, actually a really good size latch. I would definitely not use a barrel bolt on a door of this size. It just makes it a pain to open, and in the winter and summertime, the expansion of the wood, this thing doesn't line up exactly right. You got to try to lift on it and stuff. It's just not the easiest thing to open and close, especially for my wife and daughters. People ask a lot about the feed spilling out, and that the feeder works great. I've never ever had a single issue with the feeder. The feed does, as you can see, kind of get stuck up in the middle a little bit there. But as they peck at it, it fills each side of the little feeder just fine. They can all easily get at the feed. Yes, they do spill it on the ground, and I fill in this area with play sand. Every once in a while, I'll just throw a couple shovelfuls of play sand to the bottom here. Any feed that ends up on the ground, they peck and scratch away at it, and they get some sand and grit while they're doing that, and that's good for them anyway. So that hasn't been an issue at all either. Another thing that question I get a lot is, why don't we free range the chickens? And that's a great question. We built this chicken tractor, this whole detachable part of the chicken run here, so that I can hook the tractor up and take the chickens out into the yard. We do have a fenced in yard here, but free ranging the chickens here just isn't for us. We have the garden beds that are open here. They really do. We've tried to let them out and mess around in the gardens and things like that. They can literally tear this yard apart in, if they were out here for one day, all of our gardens would be wrecked. There'd, be chicken poop all over our yard. We have the kids out here that play, and we also have a dog and a cat that don't get along with the chickens very well. And we can train the dog to stay away from the chickens. I'm not sure we can train our cat. We also have noticed that as soon as we got the chickens, we have hawks that circle right over our yard here. It's a small yard, but we have this large field next to us. And, we'll notice hawks just circling around the yard. And I know as soon as we let them hang out in the middle of the yard, we'd probably have issues with that too. So we personally, just in our small kind of suburban setting, have found it better to keep them contained. Again, we do take the chicken tractor out from time to time and let them kind of scratch through a piece of the yard in a contained area. In the fall time, at the end of the year, we may let them loose in our garden beds and let them tear through that. But we don't let them free range the yard on a regular basis. So, that's, another thing that we had here was a lot of comments or questions about this, what I used for weather stripping on top of this little nesting box here, because there is a gap that I talked about in the construction videos. This is just a piece of, I think it was like one of those pool flotation deals, some type of a raft or whatever that had popped, as they do, seems like every year. So I just cut a strip of that off, and then I just used some caulk along the top part here, and just put a little piece of wood here, one by, I don't know, it's a 1/2 by 1 or 1 inch piece of wood that I just screwed across the top there to keep that secured. So this just lays here. It's not secured to the nesting box lid at all, and it just kind of keeps water out of there. So that's been working really well so far. Everything else on this coop has really been hands-free. I haven't had any issues. The roofing's been great. Everything else has been great. I haven't had any water, damage with anything. The cleaning trays worked out really well. Everything else really has been great. I'm glad we used the hardware cloth instead of the chicken wire, even though that was one of the more expensive parts of the coop. And but everything has been working really well. The chicken tractor itself works really well to move out in the yard and all that good stuff. So hopefully this kind of helped answer some of the most common questions that I get. And if you guys have other questions or you're looking at building coops like this, please let me know. I try to get to everybody's questions. Hit me up on Facebook or right on YouTube or over at our blog. You can comment a question there, and I'll try to answer any questions. I do not have plans for the chicken coop yet. I am working in SketchUp to make a good set of plans. I don't want to release junk. I don't want to release a set of plans that really isn't going to be easy for people to follow. And so I'm trying to spend a little more time on it and try to make something that will be pretty decent. And so I may not have that ready for everyone this coop building season, but I'll get something good out as soon as I can. So, but as always, you guys, thanks for watching.